Hello everyone, please click, subscribe, and like this video. On September 27, 2021, R. Kelly was found guilty of racketeering, sexual exploitation of a child, kidnapping, bribery, and sex trafficking. Now, many people feel these charges was brought up because of the documentary Surviving R. Kelly. If it wasn't for this documentary, that these charges would have never been brought up. Now, let me say this, and let me be clear. To me, he should have been locked up a long time ago. So this video is not about him being innocent or guilty. He's probably where he deserves to be. But if it wasn't for that documentary, R. Kelly might still be free. We can't ignore that. And I've been analyzing the media for many, many years. And I have never seen a documentary like that done. Usually when someone from the media does a documentary, they'll do it with a balanced and unbiased perspective. I've seen documentaries about serial killers. And somewhere in that documentary, they're going to say something little to humanize the person being profiled. Not just that he's a good singer. They're going to show someone else that say something good about him. They didn't do that in this documentary. Now, you might be saying, well, maybe they couldn't find anything good to say about him or find someone to say something good about him. And that might be true. But from a journalistic point of view, there's a certain way you have to do these documentaries. You have to have a certain amount of balance and unbiased. This is why I feel this documentary wasn't just about those girls and the victims. This documentary was also about revenge. So it begs the question, what powerful person or persons did R. Kelly piss off in his past? Now, maybe what I'm about to say is a stretch and based on circumstantial evidence and coincidence that wouldn't hold up in a court, but this is a court of public opinion, so you be the judge of that. Back in 1994, rumors started circulating that R. Kelly had married Aaliyah. She was only 15 years old at the time, and R. Kelly was 29. Now, both of them publicly denied this, but the rumors stuck with R. Kelly, and Aaliyah moved on, and he moved on. In 1996 was the first time Jay-Z and R. Kelly worked together. It was on a song on the Space Jam soundtrack by Changing Faces. Then they worked together again in 1998 on a song called We Ride. They had great chemistry in the studio for a rapper and an R&B singer. And in 2000, R. Kelly was on Jay-Z's Guilty Until Proven Innocent. And in 2001, Jay-Z was featured on R. Kelly's Fiesta remix. The chemistry was so good, it prompted Jay-Z to come up with this idea to make a whole album with R. Kelly. This was Jay-Z's idea, which had never been done before. Hip-hop artists and an R&B singer, they had made songs together. That wasn't new. A rapper and an R&B singer had never made a whole album together. Sound like a great idea. The album was called The Best of Both Worlds. But we all know what happened. In March of 2002, weeks before the album was getting ready to be released, the Chicago Sun-Times received a sex tape that featured R. Kelly and a minor. This hurt the album from the start. Now, Jay-Z heard the rumors about Aaliyah. Now there's a sex tape. Why didn't he cut his ties right then and there? He could have just cut his ties right then and there and went on about his business. No, but what he did was took some of the songs that was from the initial album that didn't get put on the album and made another album called Unfinished Business. Then he wanted to go on tour with R. Kelly. The tour was called Best of Both Worlds. People close to Jay-Z was like, what are you thinking? But he didn't care. Maybe because at the time he had his own legal problems. He was accused of stabbing his business partner, Lance Rivera. Maybe he was just trying to give R. Kelly the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. But once that tour started, it was full of nothing but negativity. These two couldn't stand each other. They eventually ended up hating each other. Jay-Z complained about R. Kelly showing up late, not wanting to rehearse. R. Kelly complained about Jay-Z's lighting crew sabotaging his sets. There was even rumors R. Kelly allegedly got into an altercation with the lighting director in St. Louis. Even with all this, Jay-Z still wanted to finish the tour. I mean, he was determined to finish this tour. For what reason, I don't know. But it all hit the fan at a show in Madison Square Garden in 2004. Where R. Kelly, in the middle of a song, Can you believe this? In the middle of a song, R. Kelly stops and walks off the stage. He just walked off the stage. And when they asked him why he left, he said he seen two guys holding guns, mean mugging him in the audience. Now, people close to R. Kelly eventually talked him into going back on the stage, but when he tried to get back on the stage, he was stopped by members of Jay-Z's crew. And then when he tried to move them out the way to go back on the stage, he got pepper sprayed. Now, one of Jay-Z's longtime friends was arrested for this. His name was Tata. He was charged with third-degree assault. Eventually, he took a lesser charge of disorderly conduct. All this stuff is on the internet. They both have spoke about these incidents. Now, I didn't want to put any of those interviews or videos in this video because, YouTube strikes. But you can go look all this stuff up. These two ended up hating each other so bad that in November of 2004, R. Kelly sued Jay-Z for $75 million. $75 million. And then a few months later, Jay-Z countersued him for $60 million. But Jay-Z's case got dropped by a judge. Now, they eventually settled out of court. Think about all the money R. Kelly has cost Jay-Z, the time he put into making the album. They couldn't market the album because of R. Kelly's personal issues. Then on tour, R. Kelly ruined the tour with his antics. They had to cancel many shows because of R. Kelly. Then to top it off, Jay-Z had to pay R. Kelly a big bag of money because of the lawsuit. And he had to spend money on lawyers to keep his childhood friend from going to jail. And this is probably what pissed him off the most, because everybody is sitting there going, the only person who could have told them Tata is the one who pepper sprayed R. Kelly is R. Kelly. So now, not only did R. Kelly cost Jay-Z millions of dollars, but he's also a snitch. And it gets worse. Remember, I mentioned Jay-Z partners at Rockefeller Records didn't want him to work with R. Kelly? The main reason why they didn't want him to work with R. Kelly is because Dame Dash started dating Aaliyah in 2001 when she was 22 years old. So what would prompt Jay-Z to work with R. Kelly with all those rumors about Aaliyah when your business partner is dating this woman now and she's a friend of yours? And you still gonna go and work with R. Kelly? Why? Only Jay-Z can answer that. Was it because he had some similar rumors about himself? There was rumors that Jay-Z slept with the rapper Foxy Brown when she was 16. Birds of a feather flock together. Now, as you can see, R. Kelly cost Jay-Z a lot of money, a lot of time. But his career still flourished, and he's doing just fine financially now. But back then, man, he was upset with this. Now back to this documentary, Surviving R. Kelly, that was so biased that I could tell that this was a revenge piece. It wasn't just about those girls. Whoever was in control of this documentary had it out for R. Kelly. Now, do you know who the executive producer of Surviving R. Kelly was? Her name is Dream Hampton. Once she got involved in the documentary, it took on a whole nother look. Now, Dream, she had been a hip-hop reporter for decades. Back in 2000, she was a writer for Vibe magazine. She was asked to go do a profile story on R. Kelly. She had full access to R. Kelly and his studio, but she was informed not to ask him about his 1994 marriage to Aaliyah. She asked anyway, and later on she got a phone call from R. Kelly scolding her, degrading her. But she spent 4 to 5 days with R. Kelly and in his studio. And she said she's seen many young girls around the studio going in and out of closed doors. In her words, she said she assumed they were just vocalists working with R. Kelly. Then weeks later, after she dropped her story, a reporter named Jim DeRogatis wrote about R. Kelly settling a case with an underage girl. Now just think about this. She was just there seeing all this. She's a reporter. This is a story of a lifetime. She missed it. This devastated Dream. She had been in the studio right there. She was so disappointed in herself, she stopped writing about celebrities for a while. And in the journalistic world, she looked like a fool. She even questioned her own journalistic cred. In her words, I thought a real journalist would have pushed. I felt terrible. I felt terrible about it. I had totally missed it when it was right in front of me. Now we have two professional people R. Kelly has made look like fools, Jay-Z and Dream Hampton. Now, back in 2010, Dream Hampton co-authored a book with Jay-Z, his memoir called Decoded, a book about Jay-Z's life growing up in the Marcy Projects. Now, you know when you co-author a book, you talk and speak about everything. You communicate with that person and you become very close. They became very close because you have to decide what goes in the book and what will not go in the book. They became extremely close. You talk about things that made you happy in your career, and then you talk about your biggest career regrets. We all know what and who was both of these people's biggest professional regrets. R. Kelly. It was rumored she got paid so much money to co-author that book with Jay-Z, more than what most journalists get for doing the same thing. I mean, these two became close, folks. Even in 2015, she was working with a nonprofit organization and she needed money for the Ferguson protesters. She called up Jay-Z. He sent her money. She tweeted this: "I'm going to tweet this and I don't care if Jay-Z gets mad." She said, "When we needed money for bail for Baltimore protesters, I asked him, as I did in Ferguson. He wired the money right away." Now, folks, I know this is a stretch of me trying to connect these dots, but do you think it's a coincidence that the film that brought R. Kelly down, the executive producer, was someone not only that he treated bad, but he made look like a professional fool, and is a close associate to another person R. Kelly made look like a professional fool and who had to give R. Kelly millions of dollars? That's stuff you don't forget, man, especially when you become rich and powerful. That's why my grandma used to always say, never bite the hand that feeds you, and always be careful who you treat bad on your way up, because people don't forget stuff. They don't.